Good afternoon. I'm Aisha Chugtai, and I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. I'm going to call to order our regular meeting for Monday, March 18, 2024. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum, and members, I'll ask you all to turn your mics on. Our clerks are facing some technical difficulties.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it appears the mic issues may be resolved just in time. Councilmember Payne is absent. Wansley is absent. Rainville.
Present.
Vitaw.
Present.
Ellison is absent. Osman.
Present.
Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Here.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Chugtai.
Present.
There are 9 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. I will also note that Council members Wansley, Council President Payne, and Councilmember Jenkins did make us aware that they would be absent for this meeting, although Councilmember Jenkins may be joining us a little bit later. Before we move on to our published agenda, Vice Chair Koski and I do have a proposed addition to the agenda, which is a legislative directive requesting biannual personnel reports. There are printed copies of these along with your agenda in front of all of you. We would like to add this item to the agenda as item number 3. Is there any discussion on including this legislative directive as item number 3? We are using speaker management. Seeing no. We are bringing a legislative directive, which is in front of you, as a added agenda item number 3, requesting biannual personnel reports.
Try again.
There. Is this better? Yeah. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask some questions about that.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you. I was a little bit surprised to see this when I got here upstairs this morning, and it seems fine, but how do we balance these kinds of legislative directives? This one looks particularly onerous, time intensive. I'm a little bit worried about how many we have so far this term put into the queue, and I'm just trying to see at what point, might we be interrupting the regular operations of the city with something like this?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Palmisano. I am happy to speak to this further should this item be added to the agenda and when we get to it, but I'll name right now that this legislative directive is consistent with what was approved last term for the biannual personnel reports, and these biannual personnel reports are included in the council adopted budget committee work plan, and it's so we are very clear with staff on the front end about what we are asking them for in the biannual personnel reports, as we did last year.
So, Madam Chair, then it seems as though we'd be getting this information multiple times and ways, also with departmental presentations, as well as in other ways. I don't believe this was at agenda setting, right? Even though maybe it was just in the final details of it. Were HR or finance consulted on this before it was submitted?
We have had conversations with finance and HR about this. They're aware of the biannual personnel reports, and we've had discussions around how best to share the request formally so that they, as they're preparing the requests, or as they're preparing these presentations, are bringing forward the appropriate information. And we had one of these biennial personnel reports presented to council last year. So just minor tweaks and adjustments that were made from there.
Thank you. It's my understanding that neither HR or finance have been consulted about this.
I'm not sure what to tell you here.
So I guess my own preference to my colleagues would be that maybe we work to take this through an agenda setting where the departments that will need to respond to this would have a chance to refine, to talk a little bit about how much of a workload this is going to be, and to make sure that we're getting the information to council that council really wants to receive, right? The things that will be most helpful in helping us to make decisions. And it not having gone through an agenda setting and it being walked down at the last minute, oftentimes when something like this happens, our colleagues email at least us, all of our colleagues, to let us know that something like this is coming forward, and I was not made aware, perhaps some of my other colleagues were. But I'm not comfortable today voting on such a thing to add it to the consent agenda and just pass it, though I do appreciate the work done on wanting this type of information to make decisions. Thank you.
I'll just offer one quick clarification. This is not being added to the consent agenda. It's being added as item number 3, so as new business. Why don't we move forward right now with the motion to add it to the agenda? And if after some discussion on it when we get to the item, I know our city assessor is waiting to make a presentation here too. So let's get through those items, and then after, if like the questions aren't answered, happy
My
to
apologies,
delay by a
Madam
cycle.
Chair. I also
Okay.
thought this was about just adding it to a consent agenda. So my apologies. I'd be happy to have it as item number 3 and talk about it a little more.
Excellent, thank you. So, colleagues, on the motion to add this legislative directive as item number 3 to our agenda, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and this item has been added to the agenda. Now we'll move to the motion to adopt the agenda as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. With that, we will begin with the consent agenda, which is establishing the 2024 Local Board of Appeal and Equalization and approving policies and procedures to be followed during their meetings. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will move approval of this item. Can I get a second on that? That item has been moved and seconded, and seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion carries. Our discussion item, item number 2, is the City Assessor's 2024 Assessment Report. I will invite our City Assessor, Rebecca Malmquist, to begin that presentation. We will let her get through her entire presentation, and then we'll take up discussion and questions. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Malmquist, and I have the honor of serving as the City of Minneapolis City Assessor. Thank you, Chair Chuktai and committee members, for providing us a little bit of time today to review some of the highlights of the 2024 assessment. And I want to thank our staff for creating and contributing to this report. I do have a number of our team with us today. I just want to quickly introduce them because they are really the ones that put the report together and can answer any of the specific detailed questions that you may have. Starting with Nancy Wojcik, Director of Assessments. We have Brian Kieser, the Chief Appraiser. We have Brian Messer, Rob Williamson, and Troy Halter, who are all appraisal supervisors. And we have Rachel Cruz, who is one of our business application managers. So I really appreciate them for being here with me today. First, a high-level summary and reminders about the assessment. We recently completed the January 2nd, 2024 assessment of the estimated market values for approximately 130,000 properties within the city. This is an annual process that is dictated by state statute. The notices of valuation and classification, commonly known as the value notices, were mailed at the end of last week. It is important to remind you that the 2024 estimated market values are used to then calculate next year's 2025 property taxes. We value properties in 1 year, and then the budget and the levy are set, and then taxes are payable in the following year. We know this can be confusing because the property tax statements are mailed at approximately the same time within days of each other, and the 2024 payable property tax statements that property owners received were used calculating last year's 2023 estimated market values. Another important reminder is that the data that we use for the annual assessment is also dictated by the state. So for this January 2nd, 2024 assessment, we analyzed market-based sale transactions that occurred between October of 2022 and September of 2023. We look back at what has happened, we set the values, and then there's an appeal process that's allowed, and then they're taxed in the following year. So in Minnesota, property taxes provide a significant portion of the funding for local government. Property taxes are the Minneapolis General Fund's largest and most flexible source of income and support many of our core governmental services here at the city. Each property share of taxes is based on its market value, the property use, and local government budgets, which become a tax rate. You can see the image at the bottom of the screen for a simplified illustration. Market value is the price a property would sell for on the open market. The assessor's role is to reflect the real estate market and set fair and accurate market values by following market trends. The assessor also classifies property according to its use. Different uses of property, even if they have the same value, will pay different taxes because of the class rates set by the state legislature. And I will provide an example on the following slide. And then the tax rate is determined using the budgets of all of the local governments, such as city, county, school districts, and watersheds. Oops. There we go. The intermediary step in converting value to taxes is called the tax capacity. This slide illustrates how this works for some common types of properties in the city. The calculation of tax capacity is the market value, which is in the second column, multiplied by the class rate in the third column. For example, you can see here a residential property, which is on the first line, and a commercial property, which is on the bottom line. If they were both assessed at $300,000, will pay different taxes, and that's because the class rate for a residential property is 1%, and the class rate for a commercial property is 2%. As a result, a residential property will pay approximately half the property taxes of a commercial property. I must note, though, this is a very simplistic model in illustrating this tax calculation, and there are many more complex factors that play in, such as special tax programs like homesteads, the state general tax, and fiscal disparities. So jumping into some of the data. This slide is a historical view of the city's total estimated market value. The overall estimated market value, or EMV as we refer to it, for the city decreased by 3.1% this year to $65.4 billion. This does not include utilities and railroads, however. These are assessed by the state, and those values are not yet available. I will mention that this does include $1.65 billion in new construction for the year as well. This slide is a visualization of the breakdown of the three major property type categories by the 2024 total market value on the left and the tax capacity on the right. Because of the calculation of value to tax discussed on the previous slide, there is a change in the distribution between the three categories when we move from market value to tax capacity. You can see here that residential values in green comprise just over 60% of the total estimated market value of the city on the left. However, when we apply the class rates, the total tax capacity for residential is 51.6%. You can also see that the commercial value in blue, which comprises just over 18% of the total market value, comprises almost 29% of the city's tax capacity after these rates are applied. This chart is a historical view of the tax capacity as a percentage of the total tax capacity by property type. So let's compare 2023 to 2024, the two bars on the furthest right. You can see that the year-to-year shift between commercial, apartment, and residential properties is just over 1% from commercial to residential, with apartments remaining constant. Overall, this means that residential properties will bear a greater burden of taxes in payable 2025 than they did in payable 2024. This slide is the distribution of estimated market value across the city by each of your wards. The larger the pie, the greater the percent of total market value that ward is comprised of. It is broken down again into the three major property type categories, being apartment, commercial, industrial, and residential. And neighborhoods in and around downtown have a far greater share of the commercial and apartment value, which is in orange and blue, while the neighborhoods further away are predominantly residential, which is shaded in green. This slide illustrates the change in total market value of all properties by each of your wards. Each ward is represented by a blue or green bar, and the percent of increase or decrease is a label at the end of each bar. So you can see here that 11 of the 13 wards saw overall decreases, while wards 4 and 5 still saw relatively low value increases. Again, this is overall all property types for each of your wards. This is a historical look at the total residential value changes. So this is all residential properties, including all the categories. This year, the overall residential market did see a decrease of 1.3%. This does mark the first time in many years that we are seeing a decrease in the overall residential value in the city. While the previous slide illustrates an overall value decrease for the residential properties, this slide further breaks down the data into the three major types of residential properties. First, condominium townhome, second, duplex and triplex, and then the single-family category. So looking at the last column, overall there were increases in the condo and townhouse market and decreases in the duplex and triplex and the single-family submarkets. So our assessment here at the city is very closely scrutinized by the state to ensure accuracy and equity. We follow requirements mandated by the state, which are based on the International Association of Assessing Officers, standards on ratio studies, and standard on mass appraisal. This data reflects the residential market. The analysis is of properties that have sold so that we can compare our assessed values to what they are selling for to analyze how accurate and equitable the values are in comparison to sale prices. The first measurement I will review is the sales ratio, which is the third column. This is a measure of the level of assessment. It is a comparison of the estimated market value to the sale price of a property. Simply stated, it is the sale price divided by the market value. We use the median ratio as our measure of central tendency. So looking at the bottom row of the 4,200 sales, the median ratio is 95.7%. An acceptable median ratio is between 90 to 105%. However, to be consistent with our surrounding jurisdictions, we typically aim for a median of 95%. We don't want to be at a significantly different assessment level than the jurisdictions in the area. For example, we don't want to be valuing properties at the median of 95% when surrounding suburbs or cities are at 90%. So again, the level of assessment needs to be consistent, and so we do have conversations across the metro, across city borders to ensure this consistently, and so our assessment does meet this ratio requirement. The second measure is the coefficient of dispersion. It measures the uniformity of the assessment. It essentially measures how far away the other ratios are from that 95.7 median ratio. An acceptable range for residential properties is less than 15, and we do meet this requirement. The last measurement, which is the price-related differential, or PRD, is critically important as well. It measures the vertical equity of our assessment. When low-valued properties are valued at a greater percentage of market value than high-valued properties, the assessment would be considered regressive. When low-valued properties are valued at a lower percentage than high-valued properties, the assessment is considered progressive. Assessments for tax purposes should be neither regressive or progressive, and our assessment is within the acceptable range. This is a historical look at the required statistical measures that our assessment is judged for accuracy and equity. It is important to point out that we've seen a drastic decrease in sales volume since the peak of 2022. The 4,200 sales is a decrease of 37%. This does mean that we have less data to rely on setting the assessment. It is not the strong seller's market that we've seen in the past, so it does not necessarily paint as clear of a picture for our staff. This slide illustrates the comparison of the median sale price in blue to the median market value in orange. These lines should be close together and going in the same direction. You can see that this measurement has also been improving. Our median estimated market value decreased 1.8% from 2023 to 2024, decreasing from $329,000 to $323,000. Next, looking at the breakdown of residential value changes by the percent change from 23 to 24. So if we look at the green bar, nearly 50% of all of the residential properties are going to see a decrease from negative 0.1 to negative 5%. And then when we group the green and the orange, you'll see a very significant portion of the city is going to see a range of a decrease of down to negative 5% to an increase of 5%. So that does really capture the majority of the properties in the city. This is a map of single family, so single family only, and the residential changes by parcel and ward. This visually demonstrates the bar chart that we looked at earlier with increases in wards 4 and 5 in green. This is a ward comparison of residential values and the same statistical measurements that we did already discuss earlier. The columns on the left are the 23 and 24 total market values, the amount of new construction, and the net change in total value. Moving across the chart is the median estimated market value, the number of sales, and median sales price, as well as the sales ratio and coefficient of dispersion. It's just giving you an idea of comparing from ward to ward. All right, pivoting to the commercial market. So if we separate commercial from industrial, you will see an overall decrease of 8.7% in the commercial market, which is in the last column. However, the industrial market did see a small increase still of 1.9%. This is a historical look at the commercial industrial market values. While we saw an overall decrease in 2024, the commercial industrial market is still above the initial post-pandemic total of $12 billion. So to tell a more complete dialed-in story, we have broken down the markets into geographical submarkets. This slide separates out the downtown and uptown markets in orange, the commercial market outside of downtown and uptown, the third bar, and the industrial market, the fourth bar. You can see here that we are still seeing an overall value decreases in the downtown market and a slight increase in the uptown commercial market. Reviewing the commercial industrial statistics, we do see that the median ratio and the coefficient of dispersion is acceptable, and the PRD is slightly out of range, yet it has improved since last year, and we will continue to watch this for the following assessment. A quick look at the apartment market. The net decrease was 9.5%, and there was $753.9 million added in new construction. Again, the statistical measurements of the sales ratio, COD, and PRD are all within the acceptable standards. The PRD was slightly out of range last year, and this has improved with this assessment. So just kudos to our team here in the assessor's office. As I mentioned earlier, the value notices are in the mailboxes. The notices are color-coded in pink this year to coordinate with Hennepin County's initiative to align value notices with tax statements. So next year's tax statement will also be color-coded in pink. If property owners have questions or concerns about their value, they should contact the appraiser that's listed on the back of their notice. If they have questions about the homestead status, they should contact Hennepin County, and that information is also on the notice. We do have resources on our website for property owners that would like to do their own research about their property value, including a neighborhood sales finder, neighborhood value change data, property tax estimator, along with information and property info. Information about the appeals process is on the value notice and on our website. There is also a selection of short videos that explain property values, taxes, and the appeal process. Here are some key, these are the public tools that we have available. As you'll remember, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, we created the levy impact estimator, which is a helpful tool around budgeting time. We have property info tools on the top left. We have that neighborhood sales finder that I mentioned, and the residential change data on the bottom right. So here are some of the key dates. As I mentioned, we mailed out notices last Friday, and I do know that some were in mailboxes as soon as Saturday. The local board convenes on April 15th and will reconvene on the 16th, and we will continue to add sessions as needed. And then the Hennepin County Board of Appeal and Equalization begins on June 17th. In addition, we do have presentations coming up next week to the Neighborhood and Community Relations-led Neighborhood Association meetings. We started participating in some individual neighborhood meetings as well. And then we will be presenting to the Board of Estimate and Taxation at the end of March. And so we really do welcome all these opportunities to meet with and educate property owners and taxpayers. Just so you all know, this is the work that'll be happening this summer, because I think it's very helpful for you to all know where our residential staff will be in the field next summer. And so the areas in green, the neighborhoods in green, are where our residential teams will be out in the field, knocking on doors and collecting that quintile data, verifying our records are accurate. So it is spread across the city. So again, those neighborhoods in green. And if you do have any questions about that, we're happy to help. We do partner with 311 and the police department and the neighborhood associations to make sure we get that word out so people know why somebody's knocking on the door or potentially walking around the perimeter of their property. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you. Colleagues, do we have any questions for our city assessor? I see Councilmember Palmisano first in queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm struggling with these slides as to why residential properties look like they're going to bear a larger burden of the tax base in 2024, and I think I'm probably reading it wrong. Could you help me understand that? Is that because of commercial property value?
Chair Chugtai, Council Member Palmisano, that is correct. So let me get back to this slide. So if we look at 23 and 2024, so the tax capacity tells you who's going to be bearing the most burden of the taxes. So last year, the residential portion in green was just over 50%, and the commercial tax base in blue was at 30.3%. And this year, because the commercial property values shrunk, there's less tax capacity in the commercial bucket, so the residential portion will pick up the majority, that change.
And so it looks like the commercial property value, I saw a big decrease on one of your other slides. It ends up being absorbed by just a 1.3% increase in the net tax capacity on the residential side.
Chair Tugtai and Council Member Palmisano, that is correct. And so that bar chart that I showed you with the orange, is it okay if I flip to it real quickly here? Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is just the downtown commercial properties. It saw that decrease of 13%. And I think from a historical perspective, like if we looked at last year's, I don't remember the exact decrease in the downtown commercial properties. I'm thinking it was like 8%. But the industrial market was up 23% last year. Right. And so while commercial was coming down, industrial was coming up, and they kind of balanced each other out. So there wasn't that shift to residential, and we're not seeing that this year. So there will be a shift to the residential properties when it comes to the calculation of taxes.
Thank you. And if I may, Madam Chair, is it because of any specific parcels of, on the industrial side, so I guess I'm looking at, in retrospect, last year, were there any major industrial properties that were sort of elevating that for last year?
Chair
Or floating us?
Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Palmasan, I don't have those in front of me, but we obviously do have that data so that we could let you know and follow up on that for you.
It was just a curiosity. There's no need for following up. Thank you. This is, it's still pretty significant that residential is going to bear more of the cost because of downtown commercial property values. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the great work that you and your staff are doing. It's well appreciated. We can only fix things if we have accurate data. And so I just want to, I have a couple questions. So on page 2, slide 2, you talk about the assessment reflects market-based sales that occurred between October 22 and September 23. So recently, the Kickernick building sold at a substantial discount. Would that not be reflected in this, or is it reflected?
Chair Tugtai and Councilmember Rainville, that is correct. That sale occurred after January 2nd, correct, Brian?
Okay.
And so that sale would be actually technically used for the 2025 assessment.
Okay. And that leads me to my second question, which is on basically slide 3, page 3. When you talk about the market value set by the assessor to reflect how a property would sell, are you in the process of realizing that these office towers, and I'm looking at your staff, I'm sure you don't get involved with that, but how comfortable are we that we have the knowledge of how these office towers are dropping in value?
Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Rainville, our staff does a phenomenal job of sales verification. They talk to the buyer, the seller, the broker, anybody that may have any sort of information about that sales transaction. And then we are charged with determining, is that an open market transaction that we are going to use to set the next year's assessment? Or was it some kind of atypical sale that we would reject and not use in setting the next assessment? It is still a mystery to us, for lack of a better word, what is the true market right now, because we have still somewhat of a bifurcated market with some sales that are occurring that seem to be open market good sales, and then others that may be appearing distressed. So we have also recently, our phenomenal team created a map that we're starting to use that you're able to, hover over the sales and get the full description of what's happening with each of those properties, and then you would be able to know if we're going to be using that in the next year's assessment or not. So I don't know, Mr. Keyser, if you wanted to step up and say anything more about. No, okay.
Of course not.
But we're happy to have conversations with you, Councilmember Rainville, about any other questions you have about specific sales or the market downtown.
I think this would be best taken offline, because I do have a lot of questions, and I'm very concerned that we do not have the truth about what's happening with the office towers. So that's what I'm looking for. So if you could help me understand the truth, I'd appreciate it.
Of course, and this is also just 1 year's assessment, and so we're already starting to, talk about next year's assessment, because we already have 6 months worth of sales that we'll be using for the next assessment, and what is it already starting to tell us about what we're going to be having to do for next year's valuation.
So if you could please contact Henry and schedule an hour with me, I'd appreciate it. Maybe it won't take an hour, but if you could give me that time, I would be very grateful.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we've got Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. Thank you also, City Assessor, for this presentation. I love when you publicly present, because it answers so many questions for me in Ward 4. This is a tough time on the north side, because our taxes just keep going up. With what we're seeing in our city, the numbers just keep going up. People are really nervous about if they're going to be able to stay in their homes or not, year to year, or I should say assessment by assessment. And, most people get this breakdown twice a year. The numbers are changing drastically for a lot of people who are barely homeowners. So I appreciate you giving the presentation and also just really explaining. You've done a fantastic job of showing why the North Side is affected differently than some of the other communities whose property values have kind of stayed at the same numbers versus our growing property values. So thank you for that. Just a couple questions. One is, how do we get, if we have a neighborhood group who wants to connect to have the presentation or, just more direct conversations with you and your team, who do I need to get them in contact with?
Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Vita, that would be me.
Okay.
If you just reach out, I'm happy to come out and present to the neighborhoods or anybody that's interested. It's a really good opportunity to have small sit-downs and explain it's a very, very complicated system, the property tax system, and in the smaller settings, it can be very helpful.
Thank you. We'll definitely set something up. And then how was the Shingle Creek neighborhood selected for the quintile data?
Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Vita, we do have what we call our quintile plan, and it is obviously based on how many parcels are in each neighborhood so that we kind of balance out the same number of parcels for each year. And so it just so happened that Shingle Creek hadn't been done in 5 years, which is the statutory requirement. And so that's why it's an every 5-year rotating cycle.
Okay. Thank you. And then you said that the neighbors will be notified, that city staff will be coming out, knocking doors, or using whatever method to get the information, correct?
Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Vita, that is correct. We send postcards letting people know that we're coming first, and then we'll try to post in any of their community newsletters. And with your office, we will notify. And then our team does move as an entire residential team of 12 or 14 that we have all together through the neighborhood. And so it's very obvious when they're coming through and walking the streets together. And that I think it really signals to our residents that here's the whole team. We're all together. If you have questions, please stop one of them in the neighborhood. But we do our best to notify 311 PD and everybody so that everybody understands why there's this group of people in yellow vests going door to door.
I would appreciate whatever advance notice you can give, because I can foresee lots of phone calls to my office if you all are, walking around in the neighborhood. Thank you so much for this, and I'll be setting up some time to ask some more specific questions also.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. We've got quite a few members in queue now. We'll go to Councilmember Palmisano next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, I would like to just echo some of the same appreciation from Councilmember Vita. Director Malmquist, you and your team are amazing. They spend a lot of time in conversation with people who have questions and need more understanding about their property valuation notice. I do know that some in my neighborhoods have already gotten their property assessment. You have on the key dates slide when these were sent and when the beginning of these appeal boards convene. What is the date or the deadline to appeal that valuation? I couldn't see it on the image on slide 23 of the notice. And I do know that when that approaches, we sometimes get some very last minute requests to help people to signal their appeal. Is there a date for that specifically?
Good question, Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Palmisano. Yes, so under state statute, the assessor cannot make changes to an assessment any less than 10 days before the convening of the board, because we have to allow enough time for notice of a new value change. So if we are contacted after April 4th at 4:30, then that property owner, our team can't review it. They can still show up and attend the local board and have a hearing. It's just that our team can't do that first informal review because we won't be able to have time to get a revised value to the board.
I see. Thank you. So April 4th is that deadline. Is there another
Yes.
deadline where it no longer is in the city's hands, it goes into the court system?
Chair Tugtai, Councilmember Palmisano, that is correct. Another great question. So after the local board adjourns, whatever date that ends up being, that they conclude their business, at that point, the local board can no longer make any changes. However, then there is the county board that begins on June 17th. And as long as the person notified the local board their desire to appeal, and they're on the recognized by the board and on the agenda whenever board adjourns, then they can then go to the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. It's just another form. It's just the next level. Our staff here at the city continues to work on all those appeals to keep that relationship building with the property owners and to keep it less confusing. So there is that next step. And then once the county board adjourns in June, that is when their only other option is to go to the Minnesota State Tax Court. And they have until April of next year to file there.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, that second date, do you know when they stop convening at the county level?
Chair Tugtai and Councilmember Palmisano, it is based again on how many appeals they have.
I see. Yep. Okay. So mostly another key date would be April 4th at 4:30 for the city to be able to engage with residential property or with property owners, period, in terms of they can still show up, but it won't be prepared and ready to go for a conversation at the local Board of Appeal and Equalization. Is that correct?
Chair Tugtai and Councilmember Palmisano, I know this is extremely confusing. There's so many dates. But the city assessor cannot make a change that the board has to authorize. So that April 4th date, if we are still talking to a property owner on April 6th and the assessor says, yes, the value's too high, we need to reduce it, we can bring it to the board as a recommendation. They wouldn't necessarily have to show up then. They'd say, okay, the assessor recognized this, but the board has to like sign off on it outside of that 10-day window.
Right. Understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Palmisano. And then, if I may just quick jump in on this appeals timeline, as you were walking through it, is there a place on the city website that we can find this timeline written out or spelled out?
Chair Tugtai, yes, absolutely. Following the presentation, I'll send out a link to the website with all of the dates.
Excellent. Thank you. That would be really helpful for us.
Of course.
Next in queue, I've got Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director. Appreciate the thorough presentation and all of the hard work going into this. I was just curious on slide number 10, and perhaps I missed it, the detail on this, but I was just wondering if you could just walk through. I think it would be helpful in a really simplistic way if you could just describe, what is driving this shift. Because I think residents are going to want to know what's the driving factor on that.
Chair Tugtai and Vice Chair Koski, that's a really great question. And it's the market factors. And obviously interest rates are playing into that. There's a lot less supply in the market as well. And so those are the two main factors that we're seeing that's driving that decrease.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. That's what I was guessing, but I just wanted to make sure that, so it's the increase in interest rates and the decrease in supply.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. We've got Councilmember Rainville next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple quick questions. How long does that assessment take? I noticed there's quite a few neighborhoods in my ward that'll undergo this process. Is it 15 minutes? Is it a half hour, 45 minutes when your team comes out?
Chair Tugtai and Councilmember Rainville, that will depend. We will walk through the neighborhoods and knock on the door, and if we see that there may be information about the property that we're missing or that may be incorrect, we'll notify them on the postcard that we would really like an interior inspection, and then they can call back and schedule. We'll come out and visit with them at a time that's good for them, and I would say those inspections take 10 to 15 minutes.
Great, thank you. And then Paul he's a special assessor, he's not an assessor, is that correct? He was at a neighborhood meeting last week to talk about street assessments. Is that?
Chair Tugtay and Councilmember Rainville, that would have been somebody from
Public Works.
Public Works that was talking about special assessments.
Okay. Well, I was going to give you a compliment for him, but
I'm sure he's amazing.
thank you, that's all.
Excellent, thank you. And at least for now, last in queue, we've got Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate all the work that you've put in your team. I feel like as a new council member, I've gotten so much more educated and smarter on our process here. A lot of the questions that I had were asked by my fellow council members, so I think we're doing a great job up here asking those questions. The one question that I had left over is looking at our property tax calculation. So I understand where class rate comes from. I was wondering if you could share how tax rate is determined. I'm seeing 118%. And I think that's on slide 4.
Chair Chugtay and Councilmember Chowdhury, that is determined based on what all of the local budgets are and the levies are set at. And so that 118%, that's probably actually it's just a number that we use. That's not an actual calculation of any thing from this year, because, you know, the city hasn't even established what they want the levy to be. And we don't have the state utilities and railroad property values, so that number really can't be determined yet until all those factors come together. But it's that tax rate is a combination of what would be the city's tax rate, and then the county's tax rate, and the watersheds and the school districts. It's all combined, and so that is what the net tax capacity would be multiplied by to come up with the tax rate. But to come up with the tax dollars, but we just don't have that information yet. But as we get, I know that Jane here, budget director, is with me, but as we get closer and we start to have preliminary numbers, we can start to give you more of an idea what those tax rates are going to be looking like.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Do you have, just off the top of your head, maybe an idea of how the tax rate changed between maybe the last budget and the previous year? Like just an idea of what we could expect as a difference, or just a data point on that?
Chair Chugtay and Chowdhury, I don't want to speculate, I'm sorry, just
Okay,
because
no
we
worries.
don't have all the factors that go into that calculation.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And next we'll go to Councilmember Jenkins, who I will note has joined this meeting.
Thank you, Chair Chugtay and Ms. Malmquist. You know, I'm at the risk of being redundant, I'm pretty sure this question has been asked, but we talked about the lower tax rates in most neighborhoods, but in 4 and 5, it's increasing. And so what's driving that increase? And again, I apologize if I'm being redundant.
I'm going to go to the appropriate slide. Right here, right? Yes, that's the one you're referencing, yes. So the lower price points of these homes have a much larger pool of buyers, and that avails more market interest. And so those values continue to increase because it's still an affordable area and there's still more competition for those properties. So they are still seeing increases in those wards because of the affordability factor. And if there's anything else that one of my colleagues would like to add to that. Okay.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'll direct the clerk to file that report. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Malmquist.
Thank you very much.
All right, that gets us to the amended item number 3, which is a legislative directive from me and Vice Chair Koski. I'll just share a little bit of context and note that there is a new printed copy brought from the clerks, which is a council action from last year, which covers the legislative directive that was approved in May of 2023. So, colleagues, as outlined in the Budget Committee work plan, this committee is to receive biennial personnel reports. In the previous council term, the committee approved a legislative directive that outlined their request for regular personnel reports. That legislative directive expired at the end of last term. And so with it being expired, in order to continue receiving the biennial personnel reports, a new legislative directive needs to be approved, which outlines our request for this upcoming year and upcoming term. The vice chair and I worked together to review and modify the previous legislative directive and bring it forth to you for further modification if necessary and approval. Some changes I will note and process I will note here. First, the previous legislative directive requested that the data and information be presented in spreadsheet format. This format was not consistently applied, and when it was applied, it was strictly quantitative and not accessible to the public. This term, we have requested this information in a report and presentation format, and that format that's pretty consistent with how we put together legislative directives, which allows for the information to be presented in a more holistic and accessible manner. Second, the previous legislative directive included a request for data and information regarding all personnel actions within the scope of the government structure omnibus ordinance. This legislative directive requests data and information regarding personnel actions, but does not limit the scope to the government structure omnibus ordinance. And then third, this legislative directive adds requests for data and information regarding overtime expenses, personnel-related administrative actions, cost savings initiatives, and personnel budget variance. I'll also add that we have adjusted the timeline in this legislative directive for the first biennial personnel report to take place between April and May. In the work plan, that report is listed in March and April, but seeing how there are no additional budget committee meetings in March and early April is pretty full with end of year reports, we wanted to extend the timeline and increase the flexibility on the staff side to be able to bring this information forward, especially since finance and property services will have a lot more reports that they're planning on bringing to us. I'll get to the April 8th committee meeting at the end of, once we've completed all the other business in front of us. I'll also note that Vice Chair Koski and I met with our CFO and our budget director on February 28th to review upcoming reports and presentations that are in the Budget Committee work plan. And in that meeting, we did discuss the biennial personnel report more specifically. Staff made it pretty clear that they weren't sure exactly what the committee was asking for. So after that meeting, we decided to review and refresh the requests from last year and told staff that they could hold off on putting together this report until we had approved and renewed the request. We also reached out to HR Director Odom a couple of weeks ago to have a deeper conversation about this and haven't heard back yet. And then finally, I'll note that when in the legislative directive that was approved in the previous term, the request for data included that the information be continuously maintained. And from talking to staff, that was not something that could be accommodated with capacity and was a very reasonable request. So we changed it from continuous updates to information regarding personnel reporting to asking for that information 2 times a year. So receiving a biannual report instead of asking for the continuous maintenance of information. With that, I will move this this legislative directive for approval and open it up for discussion. I see, I apologize. First, Councilmember Osman, and then we'll go to Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciated that. You mentioned the previous 2023, last year, request to the mayor's office expired. Was there a date that was set for the report to be shared?
That's a really excellent question. The reason the legislative directive expired is because at the end of the term, all open actions expire. So that's why it did, because the term ended.
But this was May 20.
Oh,
This
yes.
is mid-year.
Yep. In May of 2023. And then we had a presentation from staff at the end of the year last year.
Okay.
I think it was in the fall.
And okay, thank you.
We'll go to Councilmember Palmisano, then I have Councilmember Jenkins, and then Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just bring back the concerns that I had voiced earlier. You did have the clerk pass out an action that pretty much shows that we did something similar last year. I guess I would look to that information for advice on things I might need. Is there a different level of specificity here that we're looking for? Also, what was passed out, it might not be complete because it ends on the back with number 5 where it says for fiscal years 2024 and 2025 to ensure a transparent, and then it just cuts off at that point. So I'm not sure the end of this. I mean, again, this is not strange information to be asking for. It's a quite a level of detail to be asking for. I guess I do appreciate, Chair, that you made it sound like the finance department, maybe the budget office was consulted on this matter, and I had heard that they were not. So I just want to put that out there and allow your rebuttal.
Like I mentioned, Councilmember, we met with Finance and Property Services at the end of February to have a conversation about upcoming reports, including the biennial personnel report. And this legislative directive is the follow-up from that. We wanted to make clear exactly what information we were asking for. We looked back at the previous legislative directive, the presentation that came out of that, and wanted to be as descriptive in requesting information so that when we receive the presentation, it is accommodating all the questions that eventually ended up being asked by council members at the presentation last year as well. Yeah, that's all I've got for you there. City Clerk, did you want to jump in on it being cut off?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just to also to provide a tiny bit of clarity for the public, just because they don't have the printed copy of the act we're referring to, but this is in LIMS file 2023-00582. It's titled Personnel Actions Legislative Directive, so you can find it in LIMS. But this is just a copy and paste error, so this is missing the end of this sentence. So we will fix that. But the full act that includes the end of this sentence, which reads, a transparent and consistent method of identifying, evaluating, and tracking personnel items, period. We will update that file so that it's correct, and I apologize for the printing error.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Palmisano, did you have any further questions or comments?
No, I appreciate that you had mentioned that you had discussed this topic, but that's not the same as saying you discussed this legislative directive as it's written. Is that fair to say?
Certainly, that's fair to say. We had a deep discussion about how we best make it clear exactly what information we are looking for and how we don't ask staff to start putting together a report when they have not been given very clear guidance on exactly what we're asking for in the report.
So then did Finance have an opportunity to review this legislative directive?
Finance has not reviewed prior to this coming before us today.
That causes concern for just me. Thank you.
Excellent. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious. I mean, this information is essentially a snapshot in time. It can change daily. I mean, I'm just curious, what's the ultimate purpose or point of having this information? What's the intended use of this data?
That's a really good question, Councilmember. It is for us to understand, in our budget each year, the investments we make largely are around FTEs by department. So before we start going into our upcoming year's budget, starting the budget process with the recommended budget, having a clear understanding of where there are vacancies that exist, which ones are long-term versus shorter-term ones, having an understanding of things like overtime expenses or reclassifications, administrative transfers, which have an impact on the budget but aren't as easily tracked in the budget book. Having that clarity prior to going into the mayor's recommended budget and then the subsequent review and modification, and then doing that in 2 different times in the year. So in the September, October time when we are getting ready to also amend the budget, having a more clear snapshot at that time. Totally understand that this information does change very regularly, but wanting to balance receiving continuous updates with the administrative burden of maintaining this information. And so doing it twice a year is far more manageable on the administrative side than maintaining this information continuously.
So I guess, because, each department does this individually in their budget request. So is the idea then to have it all compiled in one document?
Yes. So I'll also note, though, that it's all for us to look at an enterprise-wide level. Like departments do present some of this information. What we did not receive from departments in departmental presentations last year, although I will note that each department did present on their total number of FTEs and vacancies. We didn't have a more in-depth look at of those FTEs, which ones are contracted, part-time, full-time, what are the vacancies that we are seeing, and how is that impacting the level of services, or what's the impact on residents. So that being separate from the previous conversation, or what we received from departments.
And the point is, I guess, what? What are we going to do with this information?
As we're looking at our budget, so we have a clear snapshot of where there's greater investment needed or where we're having trouble filling vacancies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move next to Councilmember Vita.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Chucktie. I have some of the same concerns as Councilmember Jenkins, because we spend a large part of our time during the presentations from department heads going through this very thing, and they tell us what they need. They tell us, the amount of FTEs that they want to add, or they talk to us about how much staff they need, or like the staff that they hire. So I guess I'm not understanding. Last year I was confused about the snapshot when, we voted for it last year. I wasn't sure of how that was gonna play out as far as the council the needs of the council. The other thing is, I'm curious. I want to know why why you walked this on and why we didn't have it just go through a regular process. Why wasn't it just on your agenda and give people time to look at it, and then give me time as a council member to, I mean, now it's like I'm forced to talk to my constituents about this if they go look on LIMS and see it by Thursday to answer any questions they have. I'm just curious to know why you all feel rushed with this and not just waiting. Put it through a regular cycle, give me time, give my constituents time. A lot of the things that, like I said, that we voted on last year, I was confused, but Councilmember Koski had it all sorted out, and she was going to walk me through it, and she did when necessary, but that hasn't happened with this new cycle or what you all are asking to do. I really don't like the idea that it sounds like staff was just told that this is something and not like didn't have the opportunity to say you didn't talk to human resources, and yeah, some staff are aware, but they should be able to weigh in on a timeline and what they're capable of doing before council takes action like this. And then it becomes, a direct, once we vote on it, it becomes you have to do this, staff. And they haven't had the chance to come back and say what they're capable of doing. And if any of us wanted to weigh in on this, you just presented it right now, and then I guess we could weigh in at council on Thursday. I don't know. I prefer I prefer that it had been on LIMS on your agenda so that people could look at it, so that I could look at it, come back, have questions, set up meetings with whomever. And I definitely prefer that staff. I want staff to have time to weigh in on what this looks like for their schedule, along with all these work plans that all these committees have adopted. These are some huge work plans, and they have to do that too.
Certainly, Councilmember. I'll note that they're in terms of timeline and capacity, the changes to biannual instead of continuous maintenance of this information. In addressing, this question around purpose, this is a part of the oversight of allocated FTEs ahead of the budget, ahead of modification and final adoption of the budget. But I'm very happy to delay this item a cycle and allow for time for members to review this information and ask further questions or get some clarification, or if any members are interested in modification to this item, very, very happy to do that, and also to allow for more time for staff to weigh in with any additional changes, so we make sure when we adopt this in a couple of weeks that it's ready to go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. I saw Councilmember Osman in queue, and then we'll return to the.
I apologize. I don't have my computer working here. I just wanted to say that this is information that all of us, that could help all of us to make a better decision. I think it's the information that I'm okay actually requesting more information from you to make a better decision. Reports of vacant overtime, how much are we spending overtime? I don't see the staff pushing back. I see the council members, authors who have contacted and made that effort to reach out to the staff. But for us as legislators, I think all the information we can get, we should be able to receive that. I don't see a huge hardship. I don't see this is a decision that, residents have to wait out or anything like that. It's just the information that's already available, that already departments have presented on their presentation during the end of the year. Combining that and having that accessible to any council member who's willing to make a decision moving forward. And for us and for the public to have just the overall look and outlook, what is our city spending? How many employees do we have? What kind of contract and who are we contracting with? How many vacancies do we have? That information. I'm 100% behind it, and I'll support it now or later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we've got Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this information would be really helpful, especially Part A. But maybe there's some pieces of Part B that could be slimmed down to make it easier for each department, because, you know, maybe we don't need all the information here. Maybe we do, but I think definitely the total amount of employees, filled positions, and vacant positions for each department and enterprise-wide would be super helpful for me to know and for us to know.
Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Chair Koski and I are happy to have further questions or discussions with you about this.
Thanks. I forgot one other question I had for Vice Chair Koski is how this is related to the legislative directive about attrition that you brought forward, if the information will be looked at together to see trends about attrition in the enterprise.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. You know, I haven't had a chance to talk to Director Odom about how she might integrate some of this information. As noted, this report will be information that comes from both finance and HR, and the other report is specific to HR. So they are, related as they are about employee and employee status, but unrelated in the sense that they're completely different legislative directives.
All right. Any other questions, Councilmember Cashman? Great. We've got Councilmember Chowdhury, then Chavez, then Rainville, then Jenkins.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that I think just taking a look at the legislative directive from the previous year, I feel like this is a good moment to just, for me, how I'm reading it is we're clarifying what we've done before, and I think this is in line with goals that we stated of being prepared for the budget ahead of time, making sure that we're able to come together as a body, have an equal set of information, just in making decisions. I appreciate your gracious offer to delay. I was going to kind of request that we have some time to sit down with it. I think legislative directives on the city council is one of our really powerful and helpful tools. And I think us moving into a standing committee for budget allows us to do this committee work together to figure out what information is needed. And I would be really curious to know the next time around when this comes before budget, if we're going to delay it, the kinds of conversations that we've had with staff and also just with you, Chair and Vice Chair, just talking in between that information that we get. And I think this is a good moment to just say, like, what we do together in this budget committee is a we. There's not one person that's deciding that comes out of it. We're a council together making decisions, and ultimately it's a we that we end up with. And our budget at the end of the day, when it passes, it's going to be our collective work. And I felt that was really important to ground in, and I'm happy that we're starting this work early. And I believe that you moved to delay, and I will second that motion.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Chavez.
Vice President Chukchai, thank you. I can get on board with the delay today, and if we do that, I think there's an opportunity to make this even stronger if that's the case. I think as I'm reading this, it's pretty basic information that we're asking. We're not really asking for a big thing that's going to turn this world upside down. If I read it, it's asking for information about the total number of employees, full-time employees, part-time employees, breaking it down by department. You go down. It's pretty basic information that we're asking. So I'll support a delay if that's what we're doing, but the reality is that this is part of our jobs to make sure that we are doing our jobs as elected officials and making sure that we can have some accountability and transparency. But I did want to thank you, Vice President Chukchai and Councilmember Vice Chair Koski, for bringing this forward. I think the sooner we can get this information, the better we can do our jobs. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for delaying. I think that's good to get HR and finance more involved in that. And during this reset process, I'm hoping to learn more about how this directive fits in with the financial policies that were passed in December. So not to belabor that today, but I look forward to speaking with you in person about that. Thank you.
Excellent. I'll note that we've made notes to ourselves to follow up with both you and Councilmember Cashman on greater conversations on some of these pieces. Councilmember Jenkins is next, and then we'll go to Councilmember Vita. Oh, no longer in queue. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. I guess my question is, I can't tell from the LD who is responsible for compiling this information. It's multiple it's all departments, and certainly human resources plays a role, but I'm just curious, do we need to state that in the directive? And seemingly we'll have a chance if your motion passes, but who do we think is going to be the entity that compiles this data?
Yep, that's a great question. So, as you may remember, when we created legislative directives last term, one of the changes from what used to be staff directions to legislative directives.
Let the mayor decide.
Exactly. We can't name specific departments or specific staff within our documents. That's for the mayor to ultimately decide, although the bulk of the work on this legislative directive ultimately will be done by Finance and Property Services along with HR.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, colleagues? Seeing none, on the motion to delay to our next regular meeting of the Budget Committee, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? All right, that motion carries, and this item will appear before our next Budget Committee, which will take place on April 8th. And before we move to adjourn this meeting, I'll note that on April 8th, we are going to have a pretty long committee meeting. All the end-of-year financial reports will be coming forward, and Finance and Property Services will have a number of pretty detailed presentations that will come before us. So I will be sure to flag the agenda once it's published in all of your inboxes, but I just recommend taking a look at that, and staff has asked Vice Chair Koski and I to just make an ask of all of you that if, as you're reviewing those presentations, if you have any questions that are coming up, to please send those to staff beforehand so they can be prepared to answer those. But with that, we've completed all the business to come before this committee today, and without objection, we stand adjourned.